AI and data for a long time and has a lot of experience in AI analytics and enterprise architecture. He has also received several awards for his work, and he speaks at AI and tech events, sharing his experience with others. So yeah, we are really grateful to have him with us today. So Mr. Sayed, thank you so much for joining us. I think with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Saida. Thanks for facilitating this. Super excited to be here. My first apologies. I don't want to start the meeting with apologies. I have a sty going on in my eye, so I can't be on the camera right now. But you all can see my picture here as I'm speaking in the background. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm going to start sharing. Sorry, was there a question? Okay. I'm going to start sharing the content, and we can go at an easy pace to start with, and then I'll give details, as we go through it. Let me see if I can share here. You see my screen?
Yeah.
You all see the FDE slide?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Again, super excited. This is Latif Syed. Very happy to join this forum. A lot of young and energetic folks here. I know it's a very critical and important topic. Before I start, I want to recognize, NTMSA as a forum has brought a lot of great things for our community at large, especially bringing different backgrounds, different disciplines in terms of what we can do, whether it's education, whether it is related to sports, or even for anything that we do across the board as a community. So it's a great honor to be here. So today's topic, definitely I want to go into a few areas. Before that, I just want to make sure I want to get a pulse. Before that, I just introduced myself. As Sister Saida said, very short. I don't want to go into the details. I've been in the Dallas community for last 25 plus years. Have done a lot of different roles across the industry, healthcare, finance, telecom, and now in insurance tech. Good to be here. I know most of us might have seen me, met me. Happy to join the forum here. And any questions you might have after this session or during the session, happy to address. And we all, collectively can learn as we go through it here. So before we start, I have few agenda items, but I just want to make sure I get a pulse of it. I know it's sharing screen here with Google Meet. Have you ever heard the term forward deployed engineer before today? If you can just type it on the chat, or just you can put a thumbs up on your name, that's good. Just want to know what is the overall pulse here. A, I know exactly what it means. B, heard about it, couldn't explain it. C, never had it until right now. And D is thought it was a military rank. So if you can just put your thumbs up based on what you know. Oh, sorry, actually you can put it on the chat, whether it's A, B, C, D, E. That would be great for me to look at it. Oops. Hold on a second. I'm not able to see my own screen here now. There you go. A lot of coming through the chat. Nice. So we see a different responses here. Okay. All right. No worries. We will go through it. So basically, it's existing skill, but it has been in the industry for a long time. It has been looked at it from a different aspects. There are terms that is used differently in the industry. It's called, Canvas team. It's called, Galaxy team, and so on and so forth in different practices. Primarily, it's a new term as the AI area came through, and we'll go into the specifics of what it is. Doesn't matter, if you know it now or you have heard about it or you have been in this role, we all can collectively understand this better. The next question I had was, if you had to describe Navy in one word right now, which fits best, right? Is it a consultant, is a hacker, translator, or a Swiss Army knife? This is another way of thinking because oftentimes we think ourselves when we say an engineer, it's always a consultant or somebody who can hack the system or who can translate some business into technical aspects. Actually, it's not. FDE is more like a Swiss Army knife who has a lot of capabilities at his disposal wherever he's getting engaged. So he can use the right tools and the right expertise to use it across the deployment wherever he is or she is. So we had to think through that. I just want to bring this up saying, it's a versatile role. A lot of things are happening in the industry where FDE is thought out as the critical function, and we'll go through it as we go through the examples here. Today, I will cover in brief what exactly an FDE is and how it is different from traditional software engineering with some examples. Then we will also go into how overall AI is reshaping engineer roles and value creation. The second part is very critical because every company who is looking for individuals with right talent and skills or hiring them to create value for their company. The value could be in form of productivity, the value could be in the form of generating new growth, the value could be in form of reducing cost, or the value could be in the form of new innovation things the team can or the companies can do. So it is very important. And then number three, we'll go into the overall scalability of how things needs to be done at an enterprise level as in FDE. There is also a very critical topic you all might have seen or heard in the news, tokenomics. For everything that we are doing today in AI, whether it's ChatGPT, Claude, or Google Gemini and other things, any aspects we use, there is a cost associated with it. Oftentimes we don't realize what it is, but I just want to make sure, as FD, the individuals are aware because that is going to hit the bottom line of the company. And also it helps, defining the more economics from software development and other things too. And finally, I can give you a brief on where and how you can start your action plan. If you are looking forward for an FDE role, or you are in the transition, you want to understand, where do I go next? Or if you're new learning and you want to add your skill set further, this would be a good place to be. Okay. Sister Saida, I don't see my other screen. I'm just seeing my screen here. So if there are any questions or any comments, you can just, pause me. I'll be happy to answer.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's go into it. So software engineering versus forward deployed engineer, right? I just want to take and break this down. Software engineering, as the word says, it's all about software. You are developing a software using the technology that is available. It could be a technology of SQL, of JavaScript, code, XML, Python, you just name it. So any technology you are master at or an individual is master at, they use the tool or the tech to build certain software for the organization. So that's how the name comes, software engineering. Whereas the forward deployed engineer is completely different. Forward deployed means you are deployed at the forefront of the company and you are an engineer who's looking forward towards what the company can do from an overall revenue standpoint, growth standpoint, the challenges they have, how it can be sorted out, and so on. So the name itself differs in both. Software engineer is very specific to a technology and domain that an individual will work on, whereas a forward deployed engineer is looking at the problem and how to solve that business problem using the technology. So it's completely two different things. Traditional software engineering, as we know, works at a headquarters or remotely because it's task-based. When you look at an enterprise has many verticals. There is sales, marketing, revenue, finance team, and so on and so forth. A software engineer works in a particular domain within that vertical. And oftentimes they are developing a code to support that particular business function. Whereas on the forward deployment engineering, it looks at the overall problem where the company is looking at, and they basically try to solve that holistically. So software engineering is very specific to the tech, along with the tools they use. They ship features via the tickets or the intakes that they get in forms of sprints. So as we all know, in every enterprise setting, there are 2 weeks, 3 week sprints that happens to develop a solution. In software engineering, you basically are adding features to an existing product or a solution or a service. And you do that based on the requirements that are coming in, or the tickets getting created, saying, hey, I want to launch a campaign. I want a software that can tell me who are all the possible leads I can go after. So that is a feature that you're trying to add. So you do the coding to get that information and you add it to the software. So that is how software engineer is very specific to the task, but he doesn't, or he or she doesn't know the entire thing, how those leads are going out, how the campaign is done, how much conversion we are making, how much money we are making on that sales, what is our bottom line, what is the margin. All those things are not aware for a software engineer. And then it's a measured by the code merge, right? What it means here is it depends on how many releases in less cycle time you can develop and deliver. That is how it is measured in terms of efficiency of a software engineer. And it often looks into in a year how many features we deliver, how many features are being used, and how it is merged with the other codes out there with flawlessly and less error rates and so on. And last but not least, it optimizes for scale and repeatability. So it means, you're building for a particular department and now you want to scale for the entire company. Would that code, stand out, or would it going to fall apart? So that scalability and repeatability is very critical. And software engineer constantly optimizes the core so that it doesn't consume a lot of resources, it doesn't consume a lot of cycles, computes, and so on and so forth. If we flip it on the forward deployed engineer, it's not sitting in a headquarters or working in a remote location. Oftentimes, it is deployed within the end client or the customer's environment. So, what it means is if I'm working for a company, Apple, and Apple has some need and I have to solve for that problem, I will be joining the Apple team in Palo Alto or wherever it is. And then I will try to be part of the team embedded in solving the problem for them. And it builds custom solutions in days and not sprints. So what it means is if there is a problem statement, you sit with the business team, you sit with the finance team, you sit with the engineering team, you sit with the other IT team, and so on. And eventually you build the product as a co-creation. And then you also look more from the business standpoint, and it doesn't go like feature based. It's more about solution to solve the problem the company is having, or a solution to build new innovation the company is looking for. It's often measured. This is a big difference. Software engineer is measured by number of codes, sprints, features that you're releasing. Whereas with the forward deployed engineer, it's often measured based on the outcomes you are delivering for the customer and what is the real ROI. If you recollect, I mentioned, if you look at a campaign that is launched, you're targeting certain customers, looking at that entire cycle, you hit the target, get a response, you convert them to a customer, and then you get started the invoice and billing, you get the revenue, and then looking at all the costs, what is the overall ROI? That is how a forward deployed engineer is looked into. So it's a very unique role, very sought out role in the industry. And also, it's very impactful role. Imagine if you're solving for a company like Apple for a problem that they have, not by features, but actually looking at end to end and working with the domain experts, working with the business consultants, also with the engineering team, you become the central focal point to deliver those. Okay. That's how we have to think through. And last but not least, it optimizes for speed, trust, and impact. What it means is the solution that is built out creates trust within the stakeholders, whether it's Apple, whether it's customers, or whether it's others, based on the example, and how much impact it is creating company wide so that you can deliver more and more and more. So that's how we have to think through from a traditional standpoint. Again, a software engineer works within a team leading up to whatever the team's task is, whereas an FD works at a company level for a problem or the business problem that they're trying to solve for. So, very unique role. It has a lot of additional benefits as well because you sit with the leaders within the company, you understand the problem, and also you are partaking in every decision that is being made. All right. To give a typical example, I'm just bringing up three different use cases here. You all are aware of a Palantir as a technology company. In a hospital, an ICU bed allocation was very manual using spreadsheets, and it has 4 hour lag. So to assign a bed to a particular patient, it had always a 4 hour lag. Imagine if it is the case in case of emergency, it is not, the right thing. So AI triaged the overall process by doing a dashboard, pulling employee health records, and also bringing in the data in real time. The forward deployed engineer works here because he goes and looks at the actual process, how the things are done manually today, what kind of data we have, how I can use AI, which particular solutions I can bring in, and finally, how I can build the ROI on it. So if you look at it, the role is very significant to bring the benefit to the hospital immediately. So by using some of the FDE embedded within 3 months, this particular hospital was able to reduce the overall patient time by 23%. And that relates to almost $4 million in annual savings. So the impact here is created by the FD. If you're a software engineer, of course, you'll be doing great things, but the impact may not be measured in terms of how much savings has been done in the annual. So FDs come with that differentiator, and they are able to get deployed within the ecosystem, and then they go and develop. The other example is on Department of Defense. They often take the satellite image and somebody has to sit and label. It's not an automatic process today. Labeling, saying, okay, this is the Latin long, this is the geography, this is the region, this is the uh, where the position is, whether it's daylight, nighttime, whatnot. All this labeling takes time, and usually it is done by humans manually as a data entry process, and oftentimes get outsourced to you know more economical labor across the universe. And it is very intensive work because you have to wait for the data entry to complete, and then you have to make that data available to make decisions. So with the FD in play, having a team of two on site, they were able to look at the problem, build a solution, and build that entire engineering pipeline that can look into the images, that can look into the taxonomy, what the DoD has, and then label it accordingly with the AI in the forefront. So what happened here? The label time reduced to 3 days from 6 weeks. And typically in this example, the contract expanded and it got an additional year with 8x benefits. So this is another thing that was done by Scale AI. The last one is on the border security. Again, very relatable to here in US. Sensor grid data is very siloed. A lot of sensory data comes in. It's a very unstructured, unpredictable data. No unified, view of what it is causing to the borders. So the FD goes in, gets integrated as a technical lead, looking at all aspects of the technology, the sensory motions, and the data that is getting collected, and then start building the lattice integration, connecting different sensor nodes and bringing that information together. Again, it's not just the one FD did it. The FD basically brings in all subject matter expertise, all the software engineers that are needed, and all the other departments that are working in this particular example. And full of situational awareness, how critical it is. And naturally, by deploying it, it has additional benefits, and additional $200 million program was signed as a follow-on. These are examples in different industries. I just brought in the reason why I did some research to bring this in. The reason why it is very important is FDEs are not just solving for a technology problem, they're solving for a business problem. collectively. Okay. So from a scalability standpoint, how many is really needed in both the examples? Remember, I was talking about if I have to deploy engineers, how much would it take for a business problem versus if I have an FDE, how does it work? So in the software engineering space, one engineer writes code, product ships and reaches a million users, for example, and cost per user, whoever is using it, is almost like 0.001, less than a cent. It's a massive leverage because one code base and millions of users are using it. The challenge is it takes 12 to 18 months to develop this for that scale and be ready. Whereas with an FDE, one FDE with multiple deep engagements. Of course, the FDE is not doing his part. He's going to leverage a lot of AI and bring the augmented AI engineering in his aspect. So FDE plus the AI augmented tools would help to develop or deliver an output of 5% team. Because now he understands the business, understands the AI tools, and understands what can be done. And eventually, this solution is built in 2 to 6 weeks. And then the revenue per FDE is almost $2 million annually per head. So very high revenue density, faster delivery, don't have to wait for 12 to 18 months to ship. And then you can be very quick in terms of what can be done. The challenge here is doesn't scale to millions without productization. So it's a very important thing. What it means is you just don't build a solution custom made for a particular problem. But if you productize, you can take the same product and apply across different departments, different line of business, or even for different companies, if you have a similar problem and so on. So that is how you have to think through how different an FD is compared to a software engineer. Again, nothing right or wrong. I'm not trying to put little focus on software engineering. Software engineering is here to stay. But definitely, if you want to look at how you want to progress, how an individual has to look at it, nothing beats being in the front of customer, looking at the problem and helping them solve the problem. If you get that role, that has a massive impact. It has a potential growth and also builds very good network across the industry as well. Any questions? Should I pause here before I go to the further slides? Because the next section is going to be a bit heavy. Okay. Let's keep going. Coming to the tokenomics. Tokenomics is a very, very important topic or the important item these days, especially with the invent of prompts, invent of a lot of LLMs, large language models, frontier models getting used. Oftentimes we don't understand. We are looking at the chat GPT screen, we're just typing it saying, hey, what is the cost of a coffee in, say, London in this time of the year or here, right? It will go and pull that information, but do we really know how much cost is getting incurred because of that question? We don't know. I'm just giving an example. Likewise, if you go and do it at an enterprise level, it's much more. So how it is measured? It is not measured in terms of input output. It's measured in terms of tokens. So tokens are like a fuel to AI system. Every word processed by a large language model, whether it is Opus or whether it's others, it always has a cost associated with it. So understanding token cost and efficiency is now a very important engineering skill, especially if you're an FDE. So just like knowing, the big old complexity as well. The cost is, just to give an example, if you're using ChatGPT, it's $250 per 1 million input tokens. So for example, if you say, I need to know, that is like 4 words, that would resemble almost like, about 10,000 tokens because of the question you're asking, how the vector works and whatnot. So imagine if you are just doing it in multiple things. Sorry, I said 10,000. It should be 100 tokens. Imagine if you're doing this thing at scale, it would be times every question you're asking and how many tokens are getting burned. And this is just for the input. And when ChatGPT gives output, that is also a token cost because it burns the, whatever consumption it has to, and it's going to have additional cost on top. So Sonnet, for example, as I said, they charge $3 per million tokens. Million tokens equal to 750,000 words. Full code based review is $0.05. So just to look at the context, every question we ask has cost. Now, if you put yourself in a company setting or in an enterprise setting, there are a lot of questions the individual teams would be asking. Hey, what is the sales target today? That's the question. So the AI has to go and bring that information. Hey, what is the actual contract, deadline for this particular customer? So it has to go and do a lot of churning to bring that answers back. Otherwise, traditionally, you look at some dashboard or some chart and you answer those things. But once you build this out, it brings a lot of insights into how the cost is structured for every prompt that we are sending. So why does it matter for an FDE? So FDE is the person who understands token budgeting, because if a company says, I have just about $1 million I want to spend on this particular program, you have to know how much you can spend or how much you can allocate to the actual tokens for the budgeting purpose. So context window is important, prompt optimization is important, and so is the other things products are getting built. And you always strive to do a 10 to 50x cheaper to run, because only then you can hit that ROI that we're talking about. So again, just to recap, for every prompt, there is a token charge. For every token charge, there is a dollar associated with it. And FDE comes in, looks at that overall picture, saying, if I'm solving for the business problem about, say, campaign and sales, and if I want to use AI-powered engineering for it, how much money do I have to allocate from a cost standpoint, and how much ROI I'll get for using all these things in the future? So that is a very critical role. And if you look at some of the examples I have put down here, the tokenomics mindshare for engineers, how fast does my code run versus how many tokens does this cost at scale? Because as engineers, always we say, okay, my code runs fine, I'm done, but we don't look at a dollars aspect. But there is that hidden cost that everybody has to be aware, especially, if you're taking a leadership role, that would be something to always be asked on. What is our budget? How much we are burning it? And then to ship a feature versus design a cost efficient AI workflow. So on the left side is the software engineer, on the right side is the FDE. And last but not least, hire more engineers, because if you have to roll out more features, we need more people. Let's go get more people from the market. Whereas as an FDE, you're optimizing the prompts to reduce the per request cost. So you're constantly, configuring it in a way that it optimizes the overall use.
I think someone has a question.
Okay.
Um, yeah, hi. I have a question here. It's a good, thoughtful thing which you have shared. So the question here is FD is going to be a individual role, or will he be getting some set of engineers? I mean, in a typical software, you have a solution architect who would talk to business leaders and get the requirements and get translated. With this FD, is he supposed to just use tools and get it done?
No, FD is the term for the group of members within that cluster. So when we say forward deployed engineers, to your point, there will be subject matter expertise. There will be an actual engineer who understands AI, how to work on it, along with an architectural background, and plus the AI tools and others. So it's not just one individual does everything, but the one individual is aware what are all the things needed in order to make this happen. So when we
Okay.
get deployed, it gets deployed as, if you look at the example I shared, in some cases just one person, but in some engagements up to three people, in some engagements more than three people. But the entire cluster is called FDE, not one single engineer.
Okay. Gotcha.
And the good thing is this puts the individual at the forefront with business, and the whole dynamics changes. You are not back into the weeds, doing your heads down coding, just looking at the feature. You're actually in the forefront with the business, continuous deployment, continuous measurement, continuous ROI, and so on and so forth. So it's the cluster of people that go as FD is not an individual. In some cases, it will be an individual that is already an existing engagement. They would say, I need a forward deployment engineer who can build chat to data kind of a solution using AI. So that individual can come in with his background and stuff, and you can get deployed. It's some kind of a mind shift here.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay. I hope there are no questions. I'm not able to see the screen. Okay. So I just want to bring it home. What it means, what does the exact FDE flywheel looks like? Okay. So it all starts with the left side, bottom left side, if you look at it, capture domain intel, understanding what the business is doing, understanding that intelligence. The forward deployment engineer goes and studies this. Okay, for this marketing campaign, where are the leads coming from? How do I go do it? Which team I have to talk to, who's using the tool, who's not using the current tool, and so on. And based on that, you propose what is the build should be, how faster it can be done. Okay. And then you win the customer through that campaign. And then you deploy the solution at the customer and finally see the ROI and expand the contract all goes through. So FDE is basically plugged in into this entire cycle, top to bottom. And if you just look at the left side, the value created per cycle, when an FDE is engaged and goes through this entire cycle, at a minimum, $500,000 is what it starts with and can go up to $5 million, which is like a potential 3 to 10x multiplier. And the domain data captured becomes very proprietary. It can be modularized, productized for future. And the moat is basically how you can hedge the overall switching cost. And then it becomes a very critical thing for FDEs to go and use the same skills across the different industry. Faster deployment, earlier ROI, or the multiples, the AI multiple that the FDE can bring in. Automated docs to faster trust, AI agents to more engagements, and finally, LLM memory can be used for smarter solutions and so on. So all these things are the skills or the capabilities an FDE should have, and he gets engaged across all these things. Of course, the technical knowledge is there. Beyond that, he or she would also be plugged into this entire value creation cycle. So let me tell you an example here where the industry is going based on what we are seeing right now. Right now, all the work that you're seeing across the board, all the hype is all in, yes, a copilot, AI that can come and develop a code, auto complete the code, generate the code, and go from there. It can do testing and debugging, it can fix the errors, and it can also build the code in a way that can be deployed. And underlying is boilerplate eliminated. You don't have to start from a blueprint and then work on it because the Copilot does everything. Copilot is an example. Claude can do it. Claude Code can do it. Codex can do it. Anything. So that is where we are already here. But if you look at the industry where it is going from 2026 and beyond for next couple of years, AI is an architect. Often challenges we see is systems are old. There are legacy systems in the company. Nobody understands how the architecture is, where the data is coming from, how it is flowing, where it is stored, how it's transformed. So the AI is going into that realm now to basically design the end-to-end features. Okay. And then also creating multiple repositories for refactoring. And finally, building an autonomous, production release creation. So from a developer, the AI is going into the architect. And then 2028 plus, you'll have that whole agentic theme. Everything is through AI, where the tools are talking to each other, the skills are getting standardized, and all the things that are happening within the agentic space is getting automated. This doesn't mean that there's, the job's going to be shrink for engineers or there are not going to be any scope. No. What it means is somebody has to build this and somebody has to use this. Otherwise, a tool is a tool that just sits. It cannot make a decision on itself unless there is a human in the loop. So this is where the FDE comes in. So an FDE comes in, they can look at all these various tools and see how I can bring this as a value for an enterprise rather than they going and hiring different people or getting a contract with a broader service providers, they can use an FDE to shape this up, and he or she can look at all the tools or skills that are needed and can bring that in. So the evolution is changing, and how AI is changing, what engineers can do today and what engineers can leverage moving forward is what I'm trying to articulate. And the key insight, as it mentioned below, the value is now moving from how good you can write the code to how you can use the AI agents to solve the business problems. That's how the thinking is going.
Um, Mr.
Yeah,
Sayed, it seems like people are only able to see the first slide and not the rest of the presentation.
really. From the beginning?
I think so.
Hold on, let me come back here. What happened here? I don't know. It's too late. Let me see if you can see my screen now. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, my bad. I don't know what happened there. So this is the screen we were going through on the deployed engineer versus software engineering. I'll just go through quick so that you catch up with what I was saying here. FD is in action. You all can see the real world examples now. I'm flipping the slides as we go through. Or you're still seeing only the first screen?
I can see the slides changing now.
Okay. So when I talked about the hospital network, DoD, and border security, these are the examples I was going through. Then we talked about the scalability, the two different models that we have, what the software engineer does and what is the FDE does, and so on. And then we talked about the tokenomics, right? I know one of the brother had a question. So this gives the detail in terms of, how everything that we ask a GPT or a particular LLM, the cost is. By the way, I can share this slides after this if you all want to have a view of it. Or the recording is there, you can use that. So then we talked about the value creation, the FDE flywheel. And then I was here talking about the overall, what is now, what is coming in 2026 and 28, and then what goes in, beyond 28 plus. The key thing I was trying to highlight was value created using software is good, it's needed, but beyond that is how all these pieces can come together for an enterprise to realize the ROI. So that is what the thinking here. Okay, this must be the last slide I have, but again, let me go through this and then we open up for questions. So how do I get into the career of FDE? This must be on top of your mind. There are a few skill sets you all have to look through. You don't have to master everything, but at least you have to know, how things are coming together. AI augmented engineering. This is the whole prompt engineering, building code, bringing part of the development lifecycle is very critical. Is must have. Every individual going into FDE should know how to use AI to build software engineering. Then the second one is system design and architecture. This is the evergreen. What it means is this is here to stay. This is not going to change. Nothing's going to move away from designing architecture or detailed design and so on. Tokenomics and AI cost design is rising. It's very, very critical function. Year from now, you will hear a lot of companies saying, "Oh, I cannot bear the AI cost; it's too expensive for me." There are already some rumblings around it. That is going to be more important. That's why an FDE can look from tokenomics. It's going to be very critical. Communication and storytelling goes without saying. If you are a forward deployed engineer, you should be able to communicate, you should be able to articulate, you should be able to look at the problems and then tell the story that can help solve the business problem. Domain expertise is a differentiator. Every company has their subject matter expertise. If you're from the industry, you can quickly understand the finance industry. If you're from finance, if you're from healthcare industry, you'll understand the healthcare expertise faster and quicker. So that's a huge differentiator that one should have. Rapid Prototyping with AI tools invention, this becomes very faster and quicker now. You can do demo in hours rather than waiting for weeks. So it is important to have that. And last but not least, adaptability and learning velocity. Things are changing so fast. It's a very important meta skill that you also have to look at, what are the various things that you can use in order to be an FDE. So the continuous learning is important. I remember some of the folks, in my career who stick to one technology and they retired with that technology, which is okay. But those things are not going to be the case anymore moving forward. So there should be always a constant appetite to learn, to reskill yourself, unlearn, and then also have additional, thought leadership as well on top of that. So those things are very critical for an FDE, which is front and center. How do you go about it, right? It's okay if you don't have, all these things today, and if you're thinking through how to go about doing it, start is the first best step, I would say. Today, there are various tools are out there. As I said, there is Codex, Cursor, Claude, Copilot that you can use to understand how the coding tasks are. Build on an app with LLM API and measure the token cost. Today, there is a mechanism to see how much token cost these would incur. And then finally, pick a domain, that is comfortable to you, whichever you want to work for, and then at least read a few white papers what they are doing in this context. So this would give a good grounding on FDEs, and then in the next 60 days you can start building some stuff, something real that solves a problem for a non-technical user. You can write a one-page summary for a non-technical executive, and then try to present it to anybody in your network. I can happy to take some, if you all want to share with me, looking at the business problem, what you're trying to solve, and how you came up with the solution, and so on. And last but not least, start connecting with people, at least, in the adjacent roles. There are plenty in the LinkedIn. There are plenty within the NTMSA community. Then also try to apply for internship in some of the companies here. There are a lot of hiring they're doing during summer. If you're looking for internships, even throughout the year, they're looking for folks who are eager to come and learn and partake. That would be a good point. And last but not least, if you can, on top of this, able to contribute, this becomes like a differentiator for an individual. You're building something, you're contributing, you're putting in GitHub or somewhere else, that gets recognized, and that also builds your own brand as well, saying, oh, this individual is fully engaged and understands, all the dynamics and so on. So that's my presentation. I just want to leave you all with one thought before we open up for questions. Remember always, I know Jensen said this, NVIDIA, CEO, so does everybody else. AI will never take your job. An engineer who uses AI is better than anybody else. That's how the industry is going. FD's combined technical depth for customer empathy plus speed is a phenomenal combination. Along with that, if you can understand the tokenomics and then understand the how you can help a company to leverage some of the opportunities to have to generate growth and revenue, it can go a long way. And I'm very positive that things will work. And I'm here if you want to connect through LinkedIn. I'm happy to do so. And plus, if you have any questions, we can open up now. Sister Saida. I can stop sharing and can come back to the main window. So in that way, I can see if anybody is asking question here.
Jazakallah khair, Mr. Sayed. That was honestly a very insightful session, I must say. So I think it really helped us understand like how AI is changing software engineering and how the role of engineers is evolving. So now I think we'll move to the questions from the audience. So if you have a question, just type it in the chat or you can just unmute yourself.
And I'm sorry for not sharing the entire thing. I don't know what happened. When I went out and came in, probably it messed it up. That's okay. I can share the slides here. So, any questions, anything in mind that you all want to get answered? Okay, there is some question from
Wow.
Brother Sohaib.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. First of all, Brother Sayed, that was a really informational session. Jazakallah khair for that. I just wanted like a bit of perspective from you on a thing I was trying to build. I was video editing for NTMSA, and then I was like, there's this problem with video editing that it takes a lot of time to edit the stuff out that is repetitive, and specifically in volleyball, there's like moments between these rallies that take up a lot of time for the video, and if you cut that down, it cuts the video down by like half. So I just wanted to see what I could plan to do to solve this kind of problem and gain your perspective for it. I was thinking
Yeah,
that like these two
yeah.
options, like maybe I could train an AI model to like see what is repeating between these rallies, or I could just use computer vision. I just wanted to see what you said about that.
No, that's good. I mean, it's a common problem. Sometimes we generate so much content, we tend to see, how do I edit or, remove some of the duplicates and so on. Um, I'm not sure if you're using any subscribe tool or you're just doing on your own manually, which would be very harder. Are you using a tool or you're
I was using CapCut. Uh,
CapCut? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I know CapCut is good. DaVinci Resolve gives a very good, sophisticated offering. I know those are paid tools. In a corporate setting, we use, of course, Adobe, for majority of the things. But now with the invent of Nano Banana and VO from Google, those things are very helpful to spot the duplication, spot the redundancies within the capture and do it. But if you're looking for editing it, I think CapCut is a good option. What are you using? I know sometimes it is time consuming. You can use prompts, with Claude now to load up the file, and it can start splitting it ways, in order to reduce the overall duplication. I'm not sure if you have used Claude in that context, but it does have that offering.
I see. I see.
Yeah. Opus, their Opus model, they have Opus Clip and others that does some of the things for you. Again, it can be prompt, you can tell exactly, hey, if there is the same pictures repeated multiple times, remove it or flag it. It will do that. Google Gemini used to do a good job, but again, it depends on if there is some fraction of difference in the pixels, then it doesn't recognize there is a standard problem with that. But there are many tools, there is Pictory and other things that you can use as well.
I see. I see.
Good question. Anything else on the FDE side? Anything that I can answer?
I think Brother Usman has a question in the chat.
Okay. Any references to understand the tokenomics and its optimization apart from prompt optimization? Oh, very good. See, we have to understand how the overall back of the scene tokenomics works, right? If you look at it, currently there was a technology team, they moved away from subscription. Now they're going with the computation, the consumption. The reason for that is they're seeing, oh my God, now we can make more because people are going to use prompts and going to use multiple things on top of it. So they definitely want to make money around that. Understanding how the overall tokenomics behind the scene works is very, very important. There was a very good article from Business Insider. I will try to locate it and share it with you. Actually, if you look at, search it for tokenomics and how to manage it in the Google, you might see it. If you don't have subscription, that might be challenged to download. But, that is how teams are looking at it. Let me see if I can download and share. So the bottom line is you have to understand from behind the scene which LLM is getting called, what is the cost of it, how you can harness it. Now people are Token minimization is a new term coming up. You're basically saying for a particular user, for a particular team, I'm going to limit the number of tokens can consume. In that way, you try to budget it accordingly, because otherwise it just goes as a wild, wild west. And, it becomes very challenging as well. So the answer for that is, if you look at it, let me think through it. I know Business Insider had one. Citadel Securities, I'm not sure if you all have heard that. It's a big one that is doing a lot of study in this space. That would be a good one as well to, look into. Let me paste it here so that you can. Citadel Securities. Study on tokenomics. Okay. And then, the Business Insider article, I have to download. I don't have it on this computer. I will see if we can locate it. You can WhatsApp me. You might have my number there. I can try to send it out to you. Okay. Any other questions? We are close to the time here. Let me see if I can share the material here so you all can download. It takes us time to do this. Yeah, let me see if I can paste here. Oh, I can't attach it here. You know what I will do, Sister Saida, I will send it to you. If you can send it to the distro, however you wanna, because I think the recording is done here. We can use that as approach. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Let me see if I can share it here. Something I was doing before. No, it won't go through it. I had to delete this one. It's asking for sharing. I had to download as a PDF and send it to you. I'll try to do that. Okay, looks like no more questions. I'm hopeful that this session was helpful. Again, starting the learning is the first critical step. I would encourage you all to please do a lot of learning. There are a lot of positions coming in the FD that I'm seeing across the industry. If you're in this area, if you're in this particular discipline, it's a lot more easier for you to shift, I would suggest.
Jazakallah khair, Mr. Sayed, for your time and for sharing such valuable insights with us today. And thank you to everyone who joined and participated. We hope you found it useful and insightful. We look forward to seeing you at the next Nurture NT webinar, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. Assalamu alaikum.